Okay, good morning, all you cool cats and kittens. Making sure it's okay. One sec. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Mbadika x Autodesk Tinkercad webinar for us to tinker together. I'm your host, Nisha McCrae. So, for those who were here yesterday, I gravely apologize over the technical issues. I think me trying to do it outside, as well as the webinar software that we're using, decided to jinx us in the last hour of our session yesterday. So I do apologize. So today we're going to do some light Tinkercad work and work mostly on actually creating our prototype of our garden bed. So make sure you have all the materials that you see in front of you so we can get started pronto and on time to make sure you have sufficient time to actually build out your garden bed prototype out of cardboard and other materials you may have in your home. If you have any questions, like always, feel free to shoot me a Q&A so I can actually help you find other materials around your home. If you would like to, yes, I know. If you would like to actually do replacements, or you may not have cardboard or a ruler, etc., I can help you brainstorm on some alternative materials that you can actually use in order to get started. To address a couple of the Q&As or the questions I've been receiving in the chat just now. Yes, I know, I jinxed myself. It was going too well. It was beautiful. It was warm. And today, I think the universe has paid me back in kind because today it's wet, it's dreary, and it's cold. So now more than ever, we need to do our garden bed project because now I really need to feel spring. So I know I jinxed myself yesterday. That was my bad. That was my bad. So go ahead and grab the materials. When you have your materials ready, go ahead and raise your hand so I know that you have those materials. Don't forget to log into your Tinkercad because we're still going to do some light Tinkercad work before we get started for today. So don't forget to go ahead and have your Tinkercad account open. And you may notice there's a couple of materials that are a little bit different than yesterday. So a couple of you told me that you do actually have glue guns and glue sticks at your home. I would only recommend using a glue gun or a glue stick if you have parent supervision, because for those who are familiar with those actual tools, you can accidentally burn yourself and need first aid. So if you want to do it with that, go right ahead. I'll show you how to do that. But if you're not all that confident in it, go ahead and just use your trusty tape in order to actually assemble your garden bed project. And then you can ask a little bit later if you want to have like an older brother or a sister or sibling or your mom or dad help you out with actually assembling it with a hot glue gun. Feel free to do that later once you do your first basic assembly of your garden bed project. For those of you just joining us, just realize that we start 10 minutes after the hour. The reason we do that is because I don't believe in homework. So I give you enough time to actually go through the materials list in order to gather those materials from around your home in order to get started. So based on my clock right here, we have another 4 to 5 minutes before we officially get started with today's webinar. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I hope your Wednesday or your hump day is going really well. And I hope we can end on a high note. And I'm gonna find some wood. Oh, wait, hold on. I got my wooden planks. Knock on wood, everything goes smoothly today. Yesterday's afternoon session went smoothly, so I'm hoping today's goes smoothly as well, but we shall see. if you're having any questions, a couple of folks I'm answering right now. But if you have any questions, feel free to send them to me at this moment. So I'm not just talking. I can actually help you with something. So yes. And I will also say a couple of people are saying, don't worry about jinxing yourself. Some folks are saying, oh, I had an amazing day yesterday. I hope you did. And I hope everyone else did, because it was the best day, because yesterday you were able to play outside all day. See, it wasn't just me. My feeling is I'm not an outside person, but these past couple of weeks of not being able to go outside as even an option for a quick walk, because it's been so wet and cold here in the Boston area, and it's finally getting kind of warm. So depending on where you are, you may be experiencing different weather, but here in New England, the fact that and I keep saying New England, but I have to remind myself because now I live in the New England, but I mean like the northeast corner of the United States. It's just been so cold and wet and you couldn't go outside. So the fact that yesterday was so warm, I was like, I must take advantage of this. And I'm so glad for those who have also been kind of in the cold, drastic weather region, you took the time yesterday to actually go outside and enjoy it a little bit. I know my family down south there in Florida, they just had some horrible storms on Monday. The storms that we apparently got, wait, they had them Sunday. Yes, they had them for Easter. And then we got those storms on Monday, but yesterday was like nothing really happened. And so who knows? Who knows? I know other parts of the country, you had snow. So it was like freezing, and then you finally had a warm day either yesterday or maybe today's your warm day. So all I'm going to say is, you know, just take account the little blessings we have and make sure that you go and enjoy that actual warmth. I know everyone keeps saying go outside, but if you've been locked down for several weeks because it's been cold and wet, I'm actually going to tell you, go outside and enjoy the weather. Like, I'm pretty sure you won't regret it. So on that note, I'm going to give you guys a minute or two in order to actually get your final materials. Don't forget to raise your hand once you have all your materials so that I know that you're ready to get started today. Some people are like, yeah, I had to tell my mom it was 30 degrees out. Some people are like, it's finally warm. Yes. So for those of us who have been suffering under the cold and wetness, is what I'm going to call it, yesterday was an amazing day. And it's supposed to be the same today if you're in the northeast part of the United States. I'm going to not jinx it again. So I'm going to knock on wood. But it was just, like I forgot what a good day felt like. Okay, I see a couple of hands raised. I'm going to wait until I get a couple of more hands raised. Oh, wait. Okay, wait. A couple people just jumped in. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. Feel free to go ahead and grab your materials. Most of the materials are the same materials from yesterday because I'm going to make it up to you for yesterday being kind of blum, blum, blum. So go ahead and gather those materials so you're able to join us as we actually bring our garden bed project to life. But as always, we're going to review what we did yesterday. So if you missed a day, don't fret. You're going to catch up. No worries. The only thing that's missing, the only thing that's missing is yesterday's recording. And that is due to obvious reasons because I have to edit when Zoom went completely glitchy and just started crashing. So I'm going to have to edit that part out. So there's going to be a delay on yesterday's session. But as I said before, for those joining in, yesterday afternoon session went smoothly, so I don't know what was going on. I'm still brainstorming because I don't want that to happen anytime this week. Again, knock on wood. So if you're just joining us, go ahead and grab your materials. It should be the same materials as yesterday, and raise your hand so I know you're ready to jump in and actually follow along with the build. And we got another, I'm going to give everybody another minute or two before we get started. But yeah. But no, I'm going to say, yes, yesterday was an amazing warm day. For those just joining us who were here yesterday, I just wanted to apologize for the technical difficulties. As one person said it, I kind of jinxed myself, and I apologize for that. Now, do I actually think I jinxed myself? I mean, it was too good to be true. It was going too smoothly. I was enjoying myself too much being outside. Something had to go wrong. And I'm not saying that something has to go wrong all the time in life. I'm just saying I just know the pattern in my life, and I should have known something was going to go awry because everything was going too smoothly. So don't forget to raise your hand so I know that you have your materials so we can get started. The first thing we're going to do, like always, is we're going to overview or review our actual Tinkercad project that we did yesterday. So if you missed today, this will be your catch-up period, and then we'll go straight into the project. Unlike yesterday, in which I gave you guys time to remix or remedy your actual Garden Bed Tinkercad models, today you're only going to have a few minutes to add some touches before we go over to our build station and actually bring our garden bed to life. Now, just to give you an overview while we wait for a couple of more folks to get their materials together, I want someone to tell me in the Q&A part, if you already have your materials, what is a prototype? This is a vocab term I've been saying over the past couple of days, and since I see some regulars here, I want you to tell me in the Q&A, what is a prototype? Or what would you define a prototype to be? Because that's going to be the focus of today. One person said something, but I'm not going to say it yet. I'm going to wait till I get a couple of answers because somebody was real quick with their keyboard there. I'm going to wait till I get a couple more answers before I say something. So you guys have a minute or two. What is a prototype? Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part here so I can know. Okay, I see a couple more people. Sent me some answers. I'm going to wait till I get at least 50% of you all to send me what you think a prototype is. Now, it goes without saying, and hopefully I don't have to tell you, don't Google what a prototype is. If you don't know what a prototype is, give me your best guess, or like what we like to call, give me your educated guess on what a prototype is. I don't need to hear the actual Google definition of a prototype. I want to hear your definition of a prototype. Okay, we have a couple of more. I'm going to give you guys a couple more seconds. So put your final submissions of what a prototype is, because essentially we've been doing them over the past couple of days. In the past week, we've been making prototypes. So what would you define a prototype being? Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. And last but not least, don't forget to raise your hand if you have all the materials you see in front of you to let me know you're ready to actually get started for today. I know today is Wednesday. Some people call it hump day because it's the most difficult part of the week, because you got Monday, you got Tuesday, you have Wednesday, and then you finally go down to the descent Thursday, and then it's Friday. Now, some of you may be staying at home or still doing stay-at-home orders where you live. So Friday hasn't felt like Friday in a while, but I like to think in my head, Friday is still Friday, or TGIF. Okay, it looks like we have almost everybody's hand raised, which is excellent, because that means we can get started. On top of that, I have a couple of people who've already submitted what they think a prototype is. So those who submitted gave the actual suggestion that is your first build. So I would agree with that. A prototype is your first build, or it's a model, or it's the first version of a model, or the first version. All those are correct. What I like to call a prototype is something that looks like or works like your idea or the final project that you want to create. So for example, if I was making peanut butter cookies and I was trying to create the perfect peanut butter cookie, my first prototype of a peanut butter cookie would be the first attempt I make at a peanut butter cookie. I may take a recipe from Pillsbury, I may take a recipe from allrecipes.com or the Food Network, or now my recent obsession is Bon Appetit. So I may be actually taking recipes from all those places. Now, my second attempt is based on what I've learned from my first attempt at a prototype. So that's where it comes to different versions of your prototype. It doesn't necessarily have to be the first version. It just has to be a version of your first build or your first attempt at it. So the first peanut butter recipe I noticed, let's say, I want to add roasted peanuts to it. If you're allergic to peanuts, I apologize. I love peanut butter, so that's where I'm going to. Then I'm going to add roasted peanuts in my second version. If I find out that I've added too many roasted peanuts in my third version, I may scale it back and only add half the amount. My fourth version, I may realize, you know what? I need to balance out all this peanut butter. Let me add crushed pretzels into that peanut butter cookie. So I may add crushed pretzels, and then on and on and on until I get the perfect peanut butter recipe. So that is what I would like to say. Oh yeah, someone said, ay caramba. Yeah. When I am talking about my cookie recipes, I like to go everything but the kitchen sink, but within reason. So not everything in my kitchen, but I like to add different textures. I like to make it better than your typical supermarket or your cookie bag recipe, because I can tell you personally, and I don't know if this is you all, the past couple of weeks, I've been cooking more. I've been I've been watching cooking channels more and trying to replicate recipes because it's something I just haven't had time to do. So my mind has been set on cookies. I actually made peanut butter cookies yesterday, or was that the day before? It was one of the days this week, and I think I ate all the peanut butter cookies along with my boyfriend. When I mean, yeah, it's been rough in the household. So what I'm gonna ask you all to do is pull up Tinkercad. I'm gonna go ahead and switch out of the actual materials menu. You see I'm DJing multiple devices today. And so now I'm gonna go back into my Tinkercad environment and show you what I have from yesterday. So give me 1 second. You should be using this time in order to make sure that your stuff has disappeared as well. So now I'm gonna show you what we did this week. So who wants to actually tell me, I've said it multiple times, but just in case, what were we building yesterday if you were joining us yesterday? Da-da-da-da-da, da-da-da-da-da. What were we building yesterday? Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. Okay, I want to see a couple more answers. I need to make sure you all are awake today. I know it's hump day is Wednesday, but you know me, interactive webinar. So go ahead in the Q&A part for those who were here yesterday, which are several of you. What actually were we making yesterday? Okay, so, okay, you're awake. Yesterday, we were making a flower bed, also known as a garden bed. And we were making this because we felt that it was spring and we needed to celebrate spring. We just went through Easter and Passover if you celebrate those holidays. If you're in the United States, you will most likely be on spring break right now if you hadn't already gone on spring break earlier. So this was kind of a project that I wanted us to do in order to signify spring. You'll notice that I have like weird project ideas based on the time of year or based on things that we should all be celebrating or all be experiencing. So we actually started our garden bed project around Monday. We finished our Tinkercad model yesterday, and today we're going to actually create a physical prototype of our garden bed project that we made in Tinkercad. So what we actually did in Tinkercad is we took a real life building material. Anyone remember what that real life building material was? Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. What was the real life building material that we used in order to model our actual Tinkercad garden bed? And you could have used a different material, but what did we use collectively together? Okay, I see a couple people saying it. Whoa, you guys are really at the keyboard. Okay, everyone's saying it was wood. One person said cardboard. Yes, cardboard is also the building material. I was using wood. If you were using cardboard, totally fine. Our first prototype together is going to be cardboard. Someone said wood. I wish it was cheese though. I know sometimes I wish I could use some more creative building materials, but if you're interested in actually using cheese as a building material, I'm going to add into the chat box. We actually did, when one of our afternoon sessions, we talked to Alex Dinas, who is the host of the YouTube channel Bite Size, which is a little bit of science. So it's a bite-sized YouTube channel. And we talked about 3D printed food. And we actually went through an exercise to show how they actually make 3D printed food. So just like I showed you all on the 3D printer, how I actually made Queen Ramonda's crown from Black Panther, they actually also have a whole different field of food science, which is the science of creating food that we enjoy every day, especially Doritos and Cheetos. So if you're a fan of Flamin' Hot Cheetos, that is an accomplishment of food science. We actually go through how you can 3D print things out of cheese. So that'll be something for you to check out. But the building material we used as our base yesterday was one of these wooden things here. Now, these little wooden things are called shims. So you can find them in home improvement stores, and shims are basically used in construction in order to make a wedge or hold a door open. I love them because they're a cheap building material. So anytime I'm looking for cheap materials, I don't have to cut into planks or to make portable, because I have an apartment that doesn't have a bandsaw. Like, I don't have a wood shop. So if I'm doing wood prototypes, I want something manageable. And these are great for prototyping if you go to home improvement stores. One of the things we found when we actually took our measuring tape is that we found out that each of these shims were about 12 inches, boom, by 1.5 inches. So we have the actual length of our shim is 12 inches and the width of it is 1.5 inches. But because we're creating 3D designs, we also had to measure the thickness of our shim. Who remembers what tool we actually used in order to measure the thickness of our shim? Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. Everyone's like, is this a morning quiz? If you weren't here the past 2 days, don't worry. This is to allow for you to actually see what we did and for me to test out everybody else who was here to make sure you was paying attention, since everyone wants to say I jinxed myself yesterday by asking for good weather. So what measurement tool did we use in order to measure the thickness of the wood? Remember, I used my measuring tape in order to measure the length and the width of my wood. What did I actually use in order to measure the thickness of my wood? Go ahead and let me know your best guess below. And don't worry if you don't know how to spell it. Give me your best spelling for what that actual tool is. What was the best tool? Oh, okay, just making sure things are okay with that station. What was the actual tool that I used in order to measure my piece of wood? I'll give you a hint. I see a couple people. It starts with a C, so you're on the right track. If you have a guess, if it starts with a C. I'm gonna give you guys a couple more seconds. Do-do, 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 do-do. Okay, I see a couple people have guessed correctly. I'm gonna give you guys a couple more seconds. What was the tool? Remember, if you're in the doctor's office, it's one of these tools. It may not look exactly like the one I have, but you may be in a doctor's office and use them as well. Chefs use these too, but they're not a measurement tool. So what are these? So if you remember yesterday, this was the tool that I've used all week in order to measure the thickness of my piece of wood. The reason why I've used these instead of my measuring tape is that it's kind of hard to get the thickness of this with my measuring tape. As you all saw me struggle with, it's kind of hard to keep it steady and actually read something because the thickness of the actual material is about the thickness of this metal clasp here. So I had to use something different. Now you could use a ruler, but I wanted to introduce you all to a new tool. So these bad boys are called calipers. So these are a pair of calipers. I saw a couple of you got it. So I can use calipers as such. I can move it back and forth, place my material inside, move it up. It can hold my material if it's light enough, and I can actually get a precise measurement. So when I did it this way, I found out that it was 0.25 inches was the thickness of my wooden plank. So that's what I used in order to create a 3D design of my wooden plank. Now, for those who were here yesterday, final question. How many of these wooden planks did we use to encompass or create one side of our garden bed? How many of these planks did we use in order to create one side of our garden bed? Let me know in the Q&A part. Oh, wow. Okay, everyone was like, I didn't get calipers, but you know what I got? I got this one right here. I own this one right here. Okay, I see a couple of folks. I'm gonna give you a couple more seconds. So how many of these wooden planks did we actually include on one side of the actual garden bed? This was a softball one, folks, a softball. Okay, so you are correct. We did 3 of these planks to encompass or to make up one side of our garden bed. I said I was the last one, but you guys seem to be on point today, so I'm gonna give you a bonus. How many of these little planks here made up the bottom of our garden bed? So not the sides, but the bottom of our garden bed. How many of these made up the bottom of our garden bed? Bonus round. Ooh, I could tell it's a bonus round because people are like, oh no, 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 no. So go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part, how many of these actually made up our garden bed yesterday? Okay, I am seeing a wide variety of answers. Let's actually go into our Tinkercad model and let's answer that question right here on the live. So if I go ahead to Tinkercad, make sure you've opened up your Tinkercad account. If you weren't here with us earlier this week and don't have a garden bed project, don't worry, I'm gonna make this one publicly accessible so you can actually use this one and manipulate it. So here we can actually see I changed the colors on my garden bed because I did the afternoon session and I wanted to make it a little bit different. But we can look at the bottom here by changing our camera angle. Let me go ahead and put a little spotlight on my actual camera angle so you guys can see. So if I click the bottom of my left corner, I want to see. Let's zoom in a little bit. Let's go ahead and count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We have 8 of our actual wooden planks, makes up one side, makes up the bottom of our garden bed. So we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of these planks make up the bottom of our garden bed because it's a little larger than our sides. If we move back our camera angle up and we rotate back towards the front, all my orchards got a little dirt in them like they do in real life, so that's my fault. You can see the size, 1, 2, 3. Those are the number of the planks we have on each side. So the bottom is covered with 8 of our planks and the sides are covered in 3. And we know from the way we actually created our planks earlier is that each plank has a length of 12 inches. Each of these is 1.5, so the total from here to here is 4.5 inches. And we know that going across the entire dimensions of this is 12 inches by 12 inches. Now this number is going to be important when we actually move to creating our real life prototype because this is going to be what we base it off of. So everyone raise your hand if you see this garden bed and it makes sense what we're actually talking about in regards to this is the garden bed that we're going to be trying to build today. Okay, I want to make sure everyone's hand is raised before we move on. Perfect. Okay. So we have a dilemma, right? 12 inches in terms of length and making up each side is going to look something like this. So hold on. I'm not really great at holding up multiple pieces of wood into the camera. So this is almost like juggling for me. So let me work my magic. So as you can see here, there's 3 pieces of wood stacked on top of each other. This is kind of big, right? So if we need to make 4 sides that are at least this height and at least a bottom that's 2 2/3 of these number of planks, that's a lot of cardboard. So this is where the prototyping stage, we need to look at our materials. So I want everyone to get their cardboard and I want them to get a ruler. And we're going to make sure that we have enough building materials in order to make a one-on-one replica. What I mean by one-on-one replica, I'm going to go ahead and see. Can I have everyone lower their hands for me for a second? Just lower your hands. Take your hand down. Take your hand down. It's okay. Just take your hand down. So, have you guys ever seen like Lego boxes in which they say this is a scaled replica of the Eiffel Tower or a scaled replica of the UN headquarters? And they'll say is 1/100th scale, meaning every 1 inch of this replica represents 100 inches of the actual official building. Because it'll be kind of hard to make the actual Eiffel Tower out of Legos, right? The Eiffel Tower is a pretty big monument. So making it out of Legos will take probably all the Legos available in the world. That's probably not true. There's billions of Legos produced, but you get my point. So when you're actually creating a prototype, sometimes you have to scale it down. So for example, if I wanted to scale down this garden bed, I would have to look at the full size of the garden bed. So if we know each plank is 12 inches, let's say we don't have enough cardboard, we have to figure out how we're going to scale down all the components of our garden bed so we can actually build a prototype of it. Now, is it going to be an exact replica of our CAD model? No. If we scale it down, it's not going to be exact because the dimensions are going to be different. But does it still qualify as a prototype? Yes. So what I want you all to do, and when you get your cardboard and your ruler, raise your hand. I want you to grab all your cardboard and put it in front of you, and we're going to actually measure how much cardboard we have in order to make sure we can build this actual prototype. So go ahead, grab your cardboard, make sure it's in front of you, and your ruler, and we're gonna double check that we have enough cardboard in order to build our prototype. And once you have all your materials, raise your hand so I know you're with me, and we can move on to the actual workstation to figure out if we have enough. So don't forget to raise your hand because it's important for me to know when to get started. Raise your hand. Okay, I want to see everyone's hand raised, or at least the majority of you, because I want to make sure we are tinkering together as a group and not individually. So I want to make sure you raise your hand so I know you have enough material in order to get started. And I'm going to make sure that we're ready to get started in our actual workstation. So give me 1 second, but keep raising your hands. One sec, we're now going to move over to the workstation. Okay, can I have everyone's hands lowered for a second? And I want you to raise them back up if you can hear me. Raise your hand if you can hear me. So awesome sauce. Everyone sees my marvelous hands here over at our station. It's magical. So what I'm actually going to do is I have random bits of cardboard that I have here. For example, one of my actual friends, she drinks a lot of these shakes. So I have this here as one of the cardboard pieces I can use. I also happen to have these little Amazon packages that I've cut up. So these are some other cardboard pieces I can use. So these are the type of sample cardboards that I'm actually using in order to create my actual garden bed. So this piece looks to be the most appropriate for what I'm going to do. So I'm going to lay her right here. Now, as I told you before, you're going to need a lot more materials, like you saw in the materials list earlier today. But for right now, all you need is your ruler and your piece of cardboard. If you want to go ahead and have your stuff on your workstation, you see I have my Exacto and pair of scissors. I'm going to show you how to, use both in order to get your project done. In addition, I have my permanent marker and I have my ballpoint pen. And because I'm going to use not only my trusty tape, but also my hot glue. So I'm going to also have this as my backup to make sure I have a very sturdy construction. Now, this tip right here is very hot and you can actually burn yourself with it. So if you're going to try to use the hot glue gun method, make sure you have adult supervision around you because we don't want you getting hurt. So I'm going to put this bad boy back over here. I'm going to put my tape into a safe location and then get started with my actual cardboard. So having it laid out here, so it works perfectly. I'm gonna adjust this ever so slightly, just to make sure you all can see my whole piece of cardboard. So we can get started. Now, if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. I can still see my Q&A. So if you have any questions, just let me know and I'll try to answer them live for you as we're going through this. So, la 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 la. So here I actually have my ruler. Now, if we remember correctly, our actual measurements are as follow. And I'm gonna go ahead and write this on the actual wooden shim that I'm using as a sample. So here, I'm going to go ahead and write length equals 12 inches. And my width is going to be 1.5 inches. So if you don't have the wooden plank, because I'm the only one with the shim, unless you guys went and got some, which don't do, stay at home. Go ahead with your ruler and you're going to measure out 1.5 inches and a length. Sorry, I had to make sure I was in view. You're going to start from here at the upper corner and you're going to measure down 1.5 inches and across 12 inches. The reason why you want to do that is because you want to make sure it's easy for you to cut it out. So I'm going to do this one second, but I'm going to show you how I would do it if I didn't have this actual wooden plank. So here, I'm going to take my ruler and remember the trick I said with your rulers. Go ahead and line it up with your edge. But make sure you line it up right there. So don't actually line it up to this little tip top right here. Make sure you line it up to the actual 0 inch or 1 inch mark and subtract 1. If you start here, your measurement is actually going to be off by at least 1/4 of an inch, which is a no-no. So right here, I'm going to line this bad boy off. Now, this is not my actual measurement shot. This is just me setting up where actually 12 inches exists. So for me, what I'm going to do is take my little permanent marker and mark off 12 inches. Now, I'm going to do the same thing, but start actually measuring off again from the 0 inch mark down to 1.5 inches. So that right there will let me know. And I'm going to make a very faint line. One of the things about, oh, someone just asked a question, what is this actual material? So the material underneath my cardboard that I'm using is called a self-healing mat. The reason it's called a self-healing mat is, let's say I'm cutting. That's too many blades. I'm cutting. I can actually cut into the mat and it actually kind of disappears. It heals itself. So I like to cut with these mats in order not to cut into my actual tabletop or work surface. Now, I pay the bills in my house, but I still don't want to keep replacing my furniture because I'm doing rapid prototyping projects. And I'm pretty sure your parents would also like for you not to be cutting it to your actual tables. So that's why whenever you're using an Exacto knife, a self-healing mat is almost necessary. Now, these aren't expensive. I got this one for about $9 and I've had it for about 5 years. I also have smaller ones that I use if I'm just doing quick cutting of fabrics and things like that. So that's what this material is underneath. So going back to our cutting, So now I'm going to move over here, make sure I get my ankle right. And I'm going to use the actual lines, which is another good thing self-healing mat is good for. You can actually use the lines here. I'm actually going to just move my whole table over. So it's a lot easier for me. I can actually use the lines in my self-healing mat in order to make sure my actual cardboard's lined up. So here, I'm making sure my ruler is lined up here. I'm going to move it a little bit. You don't have to be this particular. I'm just being particular because I know you all are watching me. And I don't want anyone later saying when they replay this, oh, she didn't line up her line. It doesn't look good. Yada, 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 yada. So now I've made my first draft of the line. Now what I'm going to actually do, first put my cap here, is actually start off at that 0 inch mark, remembering to start off at 0 inches and not the actual starting point of my ruler. And I'm going to actually hold my ruler down and go all the way across until I hit 12 inches. When I hit my 12 inches, I'm going to stop.
because we started in this upper corner here, all I need to do is just go back, go here, and I noticed my line was pretty on point, and just draw a straight line down. Now, is this the straightest of straight lines? Probably not, but hey, it's a prototype. So I've gone ahead and made my actual first one. And to make sure I remember this is my first one, I'm gonna write the number 1 because ta-da, it actually is my number 1. And then I'm gonna continue going through to make sure this piece has enough. Fortunately, I have a wooden shim, so for the sake of time, I'm gonna show you how I double check that I have enough. So I use my template, and you can actually cut out the cardboard piece we had earlier, cut it out and actually go down and use it as a template to cut future pieces to make your life easier, so you're not measuring 15 times. But I see it fits 1. Let me go ahead and line this piece up, my template, and to mark it. And I know this is 2. I'm going to go down again, mark it. That's 3. Go down again, mark it. That's 4. And just keep going down to see if I have enough. Now, what I actually would do is if I was actually cutting this out, I would add a little bit of space between my first template and my second template. The reason why I would add the extra space is because I know myself. I'm that person who actually can't cut a straight line to save her life. That is why I personally, when I'm doing engineer rapid prototypes, use my Exacto knife and a pair of scissors, because I need the Exacto knife to make sure I have a straight line, and then I could come by with my pair of scissors to make sure I actually remove it from the cardboard. Most people who are prototyping don't need both. I'm just telling you what I need, and you see I'm not pointing them directly at myself, because that is also a no-no. When you're actually in the lab, you don't want to endanger yourself. So this is just for me to see how much cardboard I have, and if I have enough cardboard to make my prototype. So what I want you all to do is continue doing this. I'm also going to continue doing it, but can I just have a show of hands? So everyone lower your hands. So if it's up, bring it down. With a show of hands, could you actually tell me if you can see my actual permanent marker marks, or do you want me to get a bolder permanent marker? Because sometimes on the camera it shows up bold, and then other times I need to use a thicker marker. Oop, it looks like I need to use a thicker marker for some folks, so that's okay. I have my trusty pouch of amazing permanent markers, so I will be okay. Let me go ahead and uncap my permanent markers. If you haven't been able to tell, my favorite color is blue, so I'm only more than happy to whip her out. So we see 2, 3, 4, and now I'm going to continue going, just making random pieces here. 5, and 6. So it looks like this one piece of cardboard is going to give me 6 actual pieces. Now, we're going to do a little bit of math on our cardboard. Don't worry, it's not too complicated. So if we have 4 sides, right? And each side has 3 of these planks. That means we need at least 12 planks. Now, we already counted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planks, right? If this was my only piece of cardboard that I have, I would be facing a dilemma, right? If I didn't have this extra piece to play around with, if I was only stuck with this actual square of cardboard, I would have to figure out something in the quickness. What I can actually do, and this is why I mentioned that scaled down version, I can make a scaled down version of my 12-inch Tinkercad Garden Bed project. So I want you to let me know in the Q&A part, how would I actually turn these 6 planks into 12 planks? How would I do it? Let me know in the Q&A part. I am waiting. Go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. How would I actually turn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 planks into 12 planks? How would I do it? Remember what I said about scaling down. Is it possible that I say that for every 1 inch in my prototype represents 2 inches? See all these little hints I'm giving you? What if 1 inch in my cardboard prototype represents 2 inches in my actual real life prototype or my Tinkercad model? How would I turn this from several 12-inch planks into a scaled down version? Let me know your thoughts in the Q&A part. Hit me with some ideas. I'm stuck. If I only have this one piece of cardboard, what can I do? How can I do it? Help me out. If you want a hint, let's say you have a donut and your friend wants a piece of your donut. What would you do in order to make sure you and your friend had the donut? Hint. Boom. Or boom. And yes, I'm having a lot of fun with this over the table camera. Okay, I see 2 or 3 people have given me the answer. Come on, come on. You guys got this. Don't fret, don't fret. How would you turn this 12-inch plank into something that could be doubled? Just like the donut. Or a matter of fact, since I'm on the cookie tip, how would you share your cookie with a friend if you only had 1 cookie? How would you do it? Okay, yes, okay. I was waiting for a couple people to say it. What we can actually do in order to transform our 12-inch plank, our 6 12-inch planks into 12 planks is to actually cut our planks in half. So that way we'll have 12 6-inch planks instead of 12 12-inch planks. So this is what we're basically doing. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What we're effectively doing is cutting all of these planks in half. In order to build our garden prototype. This is how you make a scaled down model. So we're cutting all these in half in order to make a scaled down model. Don't believe me? Let me show you what I did yesterday. So here, this actual model that I made is a scaled down version. Whoop. 1 sec, folks. Ah, no. Okay, 1 moment. Pardon the technical interruption. You guys got to give me 1 second. Things were going too smoothly. They were going too smoothly. I'll actually show you how I brought this one to life once we figure this part out. See, I asked for good weather again. I have to stop asking for good weather. Ah! Let's see if that fixed the problem. That should have fixed the problem. We'll know very quickly if it fixed the problem. So go ahead and raise your hand if you can actually still see what I'm doing here. Okay, okay, perfect. So this is the actual prototype I made yesterday. So as you can tell, based on our wooden plank, this is about half the size of our wooden plank. So instead of making my cardboard prototype 12 inches in length, I actually made each side 6 inches. So if I turn it on its side, this is my 3 side. Let me show up to my number 1 side because you know she's the best. If I put down my actual plank, you can tell that is not the full length. However, it represents about half of my full width. Because I was limited in cardboard, or I made myself limited in cardboard, I was actually able to turn this one sheet into a scaled down version of my garden prototype. Now, this is the perfect reason why sometimes when you're making prototypes, you don't need to make it full scale, because you don't want to waste all your materials just to communicate a point. Now, if the purpose of your prototype is to see if it's the right size, then by all means, make a 12-inch prototype. But that's not the purpose of today. The purpose of today is for us to at least make our first version to make sure our design is okay. So making our 12 planks out of 6-inch pieces is totally fine. But when we made our planks out of 6-inch pieces, we have to cut everything else in half as well. So instead of our width being 1.5 inches, we also had to make our width 0.75 inches because we had to cut our original width in half. And we had to do the same thing for everything else. Now, you don't have to do that if you don't want it to be an exact scale down. I'm just showing you how we would do in an actual engineering firm in order to make a prototype. When you actually show a prototype of a building, it doesn't make sense to make a full-scale version of that building. It makes sense to make a scaled down version just to test out what design features work, what needs to be scaled down, what needs to be changed, etc. So the actual cardboard prototype of our garden bed we're going to do today, as you can see here in my sample one, is actually going to be 6 inches to make sure we don't waste all of our cardboard, because this could be a lot of cutting. As you can see on the inside, there's a couple of pieces I've added. I'm going to explain what that is. And this actual size, which is half the size, so 2 of these will make up the full size we've Tinkercaded. I also put a little plastic lining because that's what I'll actually put in my garden bed to soak up water. I've also even got a little fake succulent plant that I can add into the middle, and I can actually realize when I take this little piece out, yes, we have a lot of Amazon packages that were coming to the house before everything happened. I can actually use my permanent marker, trace where I will have succulent plants about this size, and I can go, that's 1. This will be about 2, just like in our CAD model when I actually laid out those orchards. 2. And 3. And a dash of 4. Actually, go ahead and can place this inside of my cardboard prototype. And I know that this scaled down version, this scaled down version can fit 1, 2, 3, 4 succulents very comfortably. So if I had my full version, just the scaled down version has already told me 4 succulents can fit in perfectly. So in the full scale version, which is twice this size, 8 succulents could fit in perfectly. I was able to gather that information just from the scaled down version. So this is another example of why scaled down versions are actually really important and can still be very useful and minimize us using too much material. So we're gonna go ahead and make this version. So first things first, if you've already made your little traces of your 12 inches, we're gonna cut those in half to 6 inches. If you don't have enough cardboard, we can scale it down. Just let me know in the Q&A part if you need help on how to scale down your model based on how much cardboard you have. Also, isn't this such an adorable succulent? So this is a fake succulent, so don't feel like any succulents are being harmed here. This is a fake one that I use for prototyping, so I at least have something that looks like and works like a succulent for me to actually prototype and test out my designs. So this is a keeper. If you're interested in where I got that one, I got it from the Dollar Tree, because Dollar Tree for life. Wait, hold on. Is it Dollar Tree for life? There we go. Because you know the Dollar Tree community has its own symbols. So let's actually get started making this little garden bed. Oh, wait. Someone just said, well, where's the Mbadika name on your garden bed? Hold on, let me change that. M-B-A-D-I-K-A. Boom. So I'm going to put this away, use it as my template. And I'm going to go ahead and continue cutting out my pieces. And I want you to follow along with me as we cut out these pieces and actually assemble. So, I messed up this piece. I need a clean piece. You don't need a clean piece. I'm just trying to look cute for camera because I know you guys are going to be looking and going, why did Miss Nisha do it that way? I don't understand why she did it that way. And I want to make sure I don't get those comments. So everyone should have their cardboard and have laid out all their traces. I'm going to go ahead and redo my traces because I just want to make sure that when I do this, I do it right. So as you see here, I'm starting with my upper corner, laying down my piece, and just holding down my template to trace. And instead of doing 12 planks, we only need to do 6. So that's another thing about cutting it in half. It allows for us to get through this a lot faster. And I'm labeling it. Now you see what I mean when I'm gonna make some space. I'm gonna make space because my cutting skills aren't great. Don't feel pressure to do that. I'm just telling you the way I do it. So you see I made a little bit of space there, tracing out my template, using it to hold this down, making another one. This is template number 2. Gonna make a little bit of space because my box kind of lifts up here. So I want to take advantage of that little crest or that little crevice right there. Trace my 3rd one. And then continue going down. Gonna make a little bit of space because I'm going to take advantage of that crevice right there. I'm going to go ahead, do number 4. Okay, number 4. Let me get number 5. Can I get a number 5? Number 5. Oh, see, I'm already going into some songs. Number 5. And then let's move her up a little bit because we're already at number 6. Woo. If you haven't had to do cardboard prototyping before, let me tell you, when you get to the last trace, you always do a little victory dance because then it's time for the fun part, which is actually cutting these bad boys out. So number 6. So I'm going to go ahead. Now these are 12 inches. I'm going to cut all these pieces out first, and then I'm going to cut them in half in order to make them into 6-inch pieces. So no sweat. Now I'm going to take my ruler because I'm going to use Exactos in order to make my first passes. You do not have to do this. You can go ahead with your trusty pair of scissors and start cutting. I'm going to show you how I use an Exacto because I think it's a tool you need to start exposing yourself to if you're going to be taking prototyping and engineering seriously. The older you're getting, the more you're exposed to tools like Exactos, self-healing mats, calipers, etc., the more comfortable you're going to be doing more advanced projects. So sometimes you're going to see me actually using materials that you're not going to be able to see every day, but you being exposed to those materials are going to make you prepared for when the day comes and you're able to go click, click, and get to it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to move this down and I'm going to use the ruler. Now I use my ruler as a guide for my Exacto knives. As I was telling you all yesterday, it allows for me to make sure my fingers stay a safe distance away from my blade. On top of that, it holds my material down so I can actually do a very aggressive cut. So for example, here, with my Exacto knife, because I have a self-healing mat, I don't have to be concerned I'm going to destroy my furniture. So I can apply a lot of pressure as I'm actually going down. So here, you see me applying that pressure, and you see this table is a rocking. Now, when I do an Exacto, I'm still very gentle versus a lot of my colleagues. You see here, I need to apply a little bit of pressure there to hold my ruler from moving there. But I want to cut until I know I've cut through. You can see that right there. I know I've cut through. So now I'm going to go vertical. You can see here. Now, because my body is right here, I'm actually going to move away from the direction of my cutting. This makes sure that I don't run the risk of an accident when I cut this way and I go into my actual torso or my body. And I don't want that to happen because that's a no-no. So here, making sure my fingers are away and my body's away, I'm going to hold my ruler down and cut. Whoop, and I missed that line. See that? I'm all the way over here and my ruler's here. So let me go ahead and do that pass one more time. And I like the ruler because I can make sure my Exacto knife is pressed up against the ruler in order to make the cut. So I can do that right there. And this should be ready to pop out. Retract your blade. And she's not coming out. So this is when I actually follow up with my pair of scissors. So she's not coming out. What I do is just do a quick nip there. And you see, any part where I miss on the Exacto, I just come by with my pair of scissors. But the straight line is already there and it's already pretty much a line has been made for me to do. Now I have this extra material which came with the actual cardboard, but I'm kind of a perfectionist, so I'm gonna go ahead and cut it so it's not in the way. So I have a perfect template building material. And this is like one of the great things about scissors, you can like trim it up a little bit. So there we have our first piece. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing, but remember I said we're not doing 12 inches. This scaled model, we're actually gonna do 6-inch length planks so we can actually make it look like a full. So I'm gonna have to go ahead. I would usually do this with all the pieces together, but I'm gonna go ahead and show you what it looks like cut in half. So remember our rule with the rulers, we don't start at the edge, we start at the first visible mark. So I'm starting at the 0-inch mark. And once I have it lined up, I'm going to measure out till 6 inches, which is right here. Mark that off. Do a straight line down. And then I'm going to take my pair of scissors and cut straight down the middle. And now I have 2 6-inch pieces in order to actually make it up. So this actually just cut my workload in half. So now we'll notice here that there's not perfectly aligned, right? So what I can do is use one of these as a template in order to make sure all my pieces are straight, because regardless of how close you try to measure, you see that little bit of marker there and that little bit of marker there, there's always gotta be one out of the club. So if I was being a real stickler, I could line these bad boys up, take my permanent marker here, line it, cap, take the little line I just did, cut it right down, and now have 2 pieces that are pretty much on par as my building materials. So I already have 2 planks. I'm gonna go ahead and continue doing this, but if you have any questions on how to get through this part, go ahead and ask me. So I'm gonna be hopping between the Q&A part and here, so we can have all our building materials together to build up our garden bed. So I'm just gonna go ahead and continue cutting. One person asked, what happens if you don't have enough to even make 6-inch pieces? Well, this is when fractions come into play. And I know fractions are not a lot of folks' favorites, but they're an essential part of building. So let's say you only have enough to do 4-inch pieces, right? So 12 divided by 4 is 3. So you only have 1/3 of the building materials you need. So what you would do is divide all the dimensions or measurements, so your length, your width, and your height, by 1/3. So let's say 1.5 inches, instead of doing 1.5, or if you were doing the 6-inch model, which would be 0.75, you'll do 0.5 inches in order to make it 1/3, because 0.5 goes into 1.5 3 times. And you'll do the same thing for all the other measurements for your planks in order to make a 1:3 or 1/3 full-scale version of your actual garden. See here, I have a little bump of hot glue that's interrupting with me cutting right here. So I'm going to try this again. Another person asked, where did I get my Exacto? So I actually got my Exacto from Amazon. And as I mentioned in my earlier webinars, I actually, for my middle school and high school participants, if you're not based in the US, middle school and high school is usually grades 10 to 18 as their graduation gift, because I am so gung-ho about you actually learning how to use an Exacto and a self-healing mat. Your graduation from my programs, you get an actual Exacto knife and a self-healing mat. So that way, when you need to bring your ideas to life, you can bring them to life with stuff in your home pretty easily without wrecking your scissors. So I have this piece down. Another question is, why do you have random hymns? It never seems like it's from the same era. That's true. I was actually born in the 90s, if that gives you a hint about my age. So I've gone through a lot of eras. Well, yes, I do know who Ariana Grande and Billie Eilish are. I was with the 90s before and my parents also encompassed over 40 to 50 years, right? So I also grew up with them humming and singing songs as well. So for some of the parents who are joining us, you may have recognized I've been humming James Bond theme songs. I've been humming jingles from commercials in the 80s, like the California Raisins. I also like to hum a lot of electro dance pop, not the cool stuff that y'all know about that Dua Lipa and The Weeknd are actually getting into. I mean the old school, like Eiffel 65 kind of groups and Aqua. If you're a parent on this actual webinar, you know what I'm talking about with Aqua, that Barbie girl song. Top 10 song of the decade, in my honest opinion. If you're joining this and you do not know what a Barbie doll is or never heard of a Barbie song or Barbie girl, I highly recommend, when you have some time this afternoon, going on YouTube and looking up the Barbie song or Barbie girl. It's called the Barbie song, but it's Barbie girl. I think it was one of the songs that was before its time. And you know, you can miss me with it if you do not agree. It was the song of my 5th grade. Again, not trying to age myself. And I think it's a classic that nobody wants to give respect to. But you know what, Aqua? I'll give you respect every day, all day. Another question I'm seeing is, you really like math? Actually, I don't really like math. I find math is a tool that is necessary in order for me to actually do my job. So a lot of times when I'm working, it's a little hard for me to actually get stuff done if I don't use some math. So what you're mistaking as I love math is not the case. It's I have to use math. So I got a couple of these pieces already. Let me see what else I can cut up in order to get this straight. Okay, one other person was saying, how did you learn so much math? Maybe a better question. Okay, so how did I learn so much math? Kind of like you all, I learned from school. So I actually didn't appreciate math until I realized I had to use it in order to make projects with my parents. So like if my mom was making a quilt, I had to learn geometry or learn about some shapes in order to help her with making patterns and to make sure she had enough fabric. When I was working with my dad, in order to help with spark plugs or help fix the car, I had to know some basic math in order to know how much fuel he'll need, how to place stuff in certain compartments of the car, and all that jazz. So I learned math because I had to in order to do the stuff I love. Now, I have colleagues who love math because they just love math and all the magic that can be discovered when you learn how to master mathematics and you learn how everything in nature revolves around math. So to those people, they had a very different journey into math than I did. One of the things that's my pet peeve is when people say they're not good at math. And I know this sounds very cliche, but I think it's not you're not good at math. I think you've just not had the right person introduce you to math in a way you understand. I used to be horrible at physics. I was horrible at physics even when I went to MIT. And I had an amazing professor who finally broke down physics with me to the point that within 6 months, I went from the worst performing kid in the physics class to being a teacher's assistant, or basically someone who helps teach other students physics within that 6 months for that same exact class. And it was one of the greatest turnaround stories in my, I'll say in my education, because it showed me the importance of having someone introduce a topic to you correct the first time, in case you don't learn a certain way. So that's why I try to make sure when we do these lessons, sometimes I do over the top or over the table lessons. Sometimes I do cardboard. Sometimes I do circuits, just to change it up and to make sure you're learning engineering skills and how to prototype in different ways. Okay, we have our final piece coming through. Ta-da! So I have my final piece here. So what I'm actually going to do is use my template from earlier to cut everything in half. So you see here, I'm lining it up, taking my permanent marker, and I'm just going to blaze through and cut all my pieces. So that's one. And you see that templates in almost every facet of engineering makes your life so much easier. After this, I'm going to take a quick 5 minutes just because I'm going to need to charge my camera. I just saw that battery light go off. I don't know if this again is me jinxing myself, but I'm trying not to. So I'm going to do this a little fast because it just flashed 3%. And I have no idea why it just flashed 3%. I charged it overnight. That is a mystery to me, but I'm going to solve it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now we have our 12 pieces. I'm going to move this over to the side. So now we have our 12 planks. The last thing we're going to need to do is the actual bottom of our garden bed. So instead of being 12 inches by 12 inches, because this one's cut in half, we're going to do 6 inches by 6 inches. So I'm going to look at my scrap cardboard here. I'm going to quickly try to measure out 6 inches. 6 inches across. And then try to see, oh, it's so close. It doesn't make it. It doesn't make it. 6 inches is like right there. Okay, so I need to use a different material. I didn't want to have to come to this. Let's see. Is this gonna be, can we get 6 inches? And can we get 6 inches? Hallelujah. There we go. Okay, so let's go ahead. Cut this bad boy out before the camera cuts. Go straight up. Ta-da-da-da-da. This is like, how well can I cut? So I need everyone's hand raised. Give me all that positive energy. I'm gonna need it because I'm gonna make it. Gonna make it. Positive thinking. I'm gonna make it. Gonna make it. This is okay. This is okay. This is what I've been trained for. This is what I've been trained for. I will not disappoint you. To all my professors before, I will not disappoint you on this live. We're gonna get through this. I'm gonna do one more pass. Scissors, of course I need the scissors. Oh, wait. Yay. Okay, so while I go ahead and get a charger, I'm gonna put up the materials you're gonna need for the last part of today's class. So yes, you need additional materials. So make sure you're at this point that you have a 6 inch by 6 inch base. I'm gonna go ahead and write it down. 6 inches by 6 inches. You have 12 of these bad boys right here. We're gonna assemble this when we come back. And not only are we gonna assemble it, we're also gonna start our first seedling that's gonna be in our cardboard prototype. So make sure you cut your 12 6-inch planks. Also make sure you cut your 6 inch by 6 inch base in order for us to put this together in the next 5 minutes, as well as get started with our little seedlings. So let's get to it. Da-da-da, da-da-da. So go ahead and grab your bonus materials that you're going to need in order to do the next part of our activity. If you don't already have your tape and glue sticks, go ahead and grab those items because we're going to need it in order to assemble our cardboard pieces into our actual garden bed, as well as to start planting our first seedlings. We're about to restart in a few seconds, so go ahead and send me your last Q&A questions before we get started finishing up our garden bed project. So welcome back. You should have your 6-inch by 6-inch cardboard piece. You should also have your plethora of actual cardboard panels in order for us to get started. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you how I'm gonna do this with the hot glue. Feel free to replicate this using your trusty tape or any other glue stick or regular glue method that you may have on hand at your house. I want my actual piece to be more rigid because it's going to be going through a lot of testing. So I'm going to show you how I made this one using hot glue sticks. Please, please, please don't use hot glue sticks by themselves. Make sure you have a parent or guardian with you. I'm also going to recommend, remember those scrap pieces or the gaps I made earlier? If you want to make a reinforced or stronger version of your garden bed, actually make sure you have these scraps available because these are going to help us reinforce each of our panels. So first things first, I'm going to put my actual 6-inch piece away because I don't need her right now. I'm going to get my first 3 planks, similar to how I did my 3 planks earlier, right? Hold on, let me see if I can multitask with 2 hands. Fan them out. So just like I have my wooden ones, these are my half replicas with cardboard. So what I'm going to do is actually put them together. So move this to the side. And I'm going to line these bad boys up. So they're going to be kind of okay. You see how this one kind of juts out a little bit. I'm the person who likes to measure once and measure 10 times and cut once. Sometimes that doesn't work out, so I have to go back and retrim. But that looks pretty straight now. So what I'm going to do is actually line this bad boy up using my ruler. So this is a trick that I've learned in order to make sure that my actual pieces line up perfectly. So at this point, I can actually either tape across in order to make it work. So for example, what I would do is take my trusty roll of tape, peel off a little bit, break it off. So this is gafting tape I'm using, but you can use Scotch tape. I just, again, wanted to make sure mine was strong, so I used the strongest tape. You have duct tape. You can actually rip duct tape into these little strips in order to make it pretty strong. So have this version, which I'm peeling off my tape. That could have been a little bit too long, but it's okay. I'll trim the rest of it off and actually do it this way. Now I'm going to use my scrap piece in order to reinforce the actual sides of my panel. This is so if there's any force on my panel, I'm actually able to make sure it stands rigid. So this allows for me to actually continue making sure that my panel is strong. So I'm going to just eyeball it. So I'm going to cut right about here, bend it, which is one of the nice things about cardboard. Cut, use it as a template to cut his twin out right here. Cut that. And then lay them here. When I'm actually laying them here, I want to make sure there's enough space for me to add a little bit of tape across. So here, take a little bit of tape, lay it across, take a little tape, lay it across, and just do that to make sure I have a little bit more support to actually support my build. So here and here. Doing the same thing on the other side. A little bit more tape here. Press it down to make sure she's good. Press it down. And then a little bit more tape down here. So this is how I would do it with tape. I'm going to show you how I would do it with glue. The way I would do it with my glue gun is the same way I would do it with a glue stick or like regular washable school glue. So you see here, I have that. And I'm going to go ahead to the front and label this side 1. So I know I have 1 out of the 4 sides done. So now that I have that, it doesn't need to dry. So I'm going to go ahead and put it off to the side. I'm going to bring over 3 more panels. You are so lucky. Come on down. Okay, so we can look at our lineup till there's a huge gap right here. So I'm going to use this as a template. It seems like there was one row I was completely off on, but that's what happens when you do stuff live. But it's okay. We can remedy. As long as we have enough material to cut more material off of, nothing is lost. Go ahead, do one more cut to make sure all of my panel sides line up. Boom. So now that I line them up, they should be closer to good. Perfect. And then now I have my scissors over here. Well, actually, let me move them over here behind my ruler to make sure they don't cut into the cord of my glue gun. So I actually have to make sure I have a ton of glue sticks. You're going to see how quickly the glue sticks disappear when I'm actually using the glue gun. So what I'm going to do now is, like I did before, use my ruler as a boundary, hold these pieces together, and I'm basically going to do my first line. Now, depending on the kind of hot glue you have, make sure you work quickly. So if you need to squeeze and remedy these gaps right here, that you're able to do so. So you see here, I'm just going down the middle, quickly filling up that gap there, building my solid material. If you have a glue stick, you could just easily go down like this. I'm just making sure that all my gaps, and I'm squeezing them together, all my gaps get filled. Now, the great thing about using a hot glue gun is that it cools pretty quickly. So you don't have to worry about it taking forever in order for it to solidify. Now, remember that little tip I told you? Don't touch the tip of your hot glue gun. But you see how much of the hot glue stick we've already used? That's why it pays to get yours in bulk. I usually get mine in 10 or 100 packs. They're pretty cheap, like this gun. You can tell she's been through some stuff. I got for about $3 US. And I get my glue sticks, the 10 packs are $1 and the 100 packs you can get for like $5 or $6. It's because you go through so much. If you're prototyping with cardboard, this is also part of my arsenal if you ever want to increase your skill and create higher quality cardboard prototypes. So it looks like she's pretty good. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to write number 2. Oh, I'm going to flip it over and write number 2. You guys had me almost forget about the bracing. So I'm going to take my spare piece here. I'm going to measure it up. I'm going to bend it, take my scissors, cut, use it as a template to create a twin. Booyaka. And now I'm going to use the hot glue to actually put my bracing right here. So I add a dab of glue on each end, making sure not to touch the hot glue, because even when the glue deposits on the actual bracing, it's still hot. Trust me from experience, it's still hot. So I'm gonna go ahead, add, cardboard got stuck. Add my second bracing. Right here and right here. And then now I'm gonna flip this over. And you see how those bracings make sure those panels stay upright? I'm gonna go ahead and write number 2 on this bad boy right here. So I'm gonna keep doing this until I have all 4 sides. Ooh, this one shifted a little bit at the bottom. But it's okay, it's a prototype. It's a prototype. It doesn't have to be perfect, Nisha. It is not a judgment on your prototyping skills, because you won't judge me, right? No, don't judge me. So here, I'm gonna line it back up again, and we can actually see there's a little piece here that's off down here again. I think all my third pieces are slightly off. I don't know what that's about, but hey, we're doing good so far, so I'm gonna keep keeping with our good luck. Keep keeping on, keep keeping on. So I'm gonna put my scissors here because I'm careful to not cut my cord. Go ahead and line them up, using my ruler to make sure they stay in their place. Take my hot glue. I'm gonna go ahead and grab another glue stick so she's at the ready and start pushing her out. So go ahead and just pushing this out, and pushing this out. A little bit more down here. Ooh, it's getting tougher because I know I'm at the end of the stick. I have to make sure this other stick is catching. So you'll see it kind of struggling with the hot glue coming out, but I'm going to have to keep moving on. We're already past the halfway point, kind of technically, kind of past the halfway point. I'm going to keep going. Keep going. Yes. Okay, now I'm going to move this over here. I'm not going to forget that I need my bracings. So I have 2 of the scrap bracings that I'm going to use. So I'm going to add a dollop here, a dollop here. I'm going to add it here. Now it doesn't have to cover the whole length because all you want this to do is to reinforce your 3 panels. So anytime there's pressure applied to any of these gaps here, it doesn't cause your actual side to collapse. So I use these in order to provide a little bit more reinforcement. So now I'm going to flip this over, give it that magic number 3, and then let's go ahead and build our final side. I'm going to gather my last 3 pieces. I'm going to line them up. Do we have? It's almost perfect. See, good things come to those who wait. So we're going to go ahead and just line it up with some glue. Now, while you're assembling this, if you're having any problems, go ahead and let me know in the Q&A part. Like I said before, even though I'm at the workstation, I can actually still see my main computer. So if you have a question I can answer while I'm doing these last panels, like if something's not gluing right for you, something's not coming together, don't worry about it. If you want to follow along and you have a choice between, because I see one question, is a choice between tape or using glue. If you're using, for example, what we have in the United States is Elmer's glue. If you're using Elmer's glue, it can take a while to actually dry. Same thing with Mod Podge. Less is more if you want it to dry quickly. But what you'll find if you're trying to follow along with this tutorial, you're going to have to give yourself more time for your sides to dry. And you're going to have to not rush the process. So if you're using actual Elmer's glue, Mod Podge, concrete cement is another one, you have to give it time. So don't rush the process. I've made that mistake numerous times and every time have regretted it. So let me find another scrap piece of cardboard that I can utilize in order to make my brace for my actual panel. Oh, that's a good question. Someone asked, are the braces used for the back of the panels the same braces people use for bookshelves? They're actually the same, they serve the same function. So the function of a brace is to hold up something or provide additional support to make sure it doesn't break or get destroyed. So here, so the braces we're using for our actual individual panels are providing a little bit of reinforcement to our actual garden sides. So here and here. And we're gonna do one more brace right here. As you notice, the more and more I'm trying to blaze through this, the less, how do we say, pretty my braces get. But never fear, Miss Nisha is here. So putting this down right here. So now we have our bracing for our final side. Ooh, she don't look pretty. I should have reversed that. It's okay. It's a prototype. So this is our 4th side. So now we have all of our sides done. Ooh, that hot glue got us sticking. But that doesn't mean we're done, because now we need to bring this bad boy into the middle. So you see there's a little paper here. I'm going to go ahead and cut that off just so she looks pretty. Gonna move her over to the side. And now I'm actually gonna put all my sides around here. Now there's 2 ways you can do it. It depends where you put your bracing or how you glued. You can actually have the sides fit snugly up against the actual base, or you can glue them on top. I'm gonna leave that to you all, which way you actually do it. I'm gonna try to fit it snugly on the side. So you see me here, putting my little line of hot glue. I'm trying to get it as close to the bottom as possible because the thickness of my cardboard isn't thick enough to be too high. So you see, Gonna glue. And let me get my other side down. So my other side, I'm gonna move snugly right there, actually. Ooh, I forgot I measured for the top and not for the side. Well, the good thing is, if you have tape or before your hot glue dries, you can undo and remedy your mistake. So hold on. That was me. It's a hump day for me too. Hold on. I'm gonna put that back there. Boom. Okay. That looks much better. But that means I have to quickly put up the other side. So I'm gonna go down here and do a thin layer on top. Oh no, I'm running out of a glue stick. No! This is with my hands. I need an extra hand. Like some people are like, what superpower do you want? I need an extra set of hands, as well as the ability to fly and read people's thoughts and teleport from here to there. Okay. Hold on. This piece of cardboard's in the way. There we go. So kumbaya. We got 2 of our sides down. Let's go ahead and get some more sides ready. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. So getting this bad boy right here. And then let's get the sides. And let's get this last side up. Boom. Now that I have all my sides up, I'm gonna go with my hot glue, do a little trace, and hold them together as such. So I'm gonna hold for a couple seconds. While I'm holding that, I'm gonna go ahead and start gluing my side right here. Or if you're doing tape, I'll just do tape along this little crevice right here. And now I'm just holding my position, just holding. So I try to get this side down as well. And make sure you get inside the 2 pieces because you're joining them, not just on the inside, but outside as well. So I'm holding that piece. And then let me get this lower corner here. You see how amazing the human body is? Your hands can do amazing things if you let them. I'm gonna go ahead and do this one upside down. Go ahead and do this. Hold our positions, and ta-da! All the hot glue got stuck. So here we have our actual garden bed. Now what I would do is take some like plastic you have in the house that's in your recycling. You saw, I basically used a cutout from Amazon Prime package. In order to do the bottom, I'm gonna do the same thing. I'm gonna go ahead, cut a little bit of my Amazon package because I just like to have a plastic lining. So this part is optional. This just depends how you want to use your garden bed. I like to put a plastic lining just in case some water comes out because this garden bed is actually made of cardboard. So you want to make sure you protect the cardboard from getting wet or getting mildewy. So you want to add something to the bottom. So if you have like a plastic wrap from packaging or something, you can use to line the bottom of this. See? And just like with our previous prototype, move this to the side, do a side-by-side comparison. You can actually see, you can do 1, 2, 3, 4. You can also do 1, 2, 3, 4. So now we know if we put these two together that the actual full length of our garden bed could fit 8 succulent plants. And we could tilt it on the side and see the actual length's pretty long. And let me go ahead and lay my little shim there. And you can actually see it's the full length when we add our 2 scaled down versions of the garden. So I'm going to go ahead with the one I just did. Hopefully you have your other materials out. The other materials you're going to need is coffee grinds. So I've been having coffee every day. Feel free to grab whatever leftover coffee you may have from your parents. If you don't have that, don't worry. Later, you can actually just use soil from your backyard if you have it. I don't have really good soil in my backyard, so I use the coffee grounds from my morning coffee. So you see in here, I've been actually saving it in here because it makes for excellent soil to start on your plants. The other thing you'll need is an egg carton. So I got this because I just finished my actual dozen of eggs. And last but not least, while this is a fake succulent, I went out into my garden and I got a real succulent. If you don't know what succulents are, they're pretty much like aloe vera plants. They're plants that are pretty indoor friendly. I'm using my garden bed for indoor practices, so that's why I wanted to pick indoor friendly plants. If you don't have any plant seeds or succulents you could take a leaf off of and plant, go ahead. You probably have in your pantry some beans. So if you ever did a project with wet beans before, go ahead and get some kidney beans or some black beans. You can actually grow them. So what we're going to do with the egg carton is that each of these little carton holders, we can actually fill up with coffee grounds and actually start planting things. So what I'm going to do is put my little garden bed down. I'm going to actually take my pair of scissors and I'm going to trim up my actual egg carton. Trim it down the middle. In order to make my little storage. And I'm just going to put 4 plants in here because remember what we said with our scaled down version, it can only carry 4 plants. So I'm going to go ahead and cut it to only house 4 plants. Now that I have that, I'm going to take a little spoon to scoop out my coffee grounds, take a little spoonful and fill each capsule with some of my coffee grounds. So I have this here, and I have this here. And what I want to do is make sure each one is packed down. Now you can do soil, and if you have just a little bit of coffee grounds that, or used up coffee, that works perfect because did you know coffee grounds could actually, the reason why I save my coffee grounds is you can actually use them in body scrub. So if you want a really nice relaxing bath or shower, you could throw this in with any type of soap and it'll actually get rid of a lot of dead skin. Some people use it for face masks. I also like coffee grounds because they're actually a deodorizer. So if you ever get any athletic clothes that says anti-odor, it's because each of the fibers actually have coffee grounds in them. Or if you go like Bath and Body Works where they have candles and lotions, they'll have an actual container of coffee beans, which allows for you to actually be able to clean your sinuses from the smell of all those coffees and lotions and those scents. So here I have a succulent. I'm gonna go ahead and take a couple leaves off my succulent. And the way we do it is we bury the succulent in our coffee grounds and just cover up the base of the leaf as such. So I'm gonna go ahead and do this for 2 of them. And you see how I'm just burying it in the coffee grounds. This one needs a little bit more. So my coffee grounds are still a little wet, so I don't have to add water to them. But if yours is dry, go ahead and add a little water. You see my kidney bean, I'm just gonna press her in there and just lightly cover her up. My kidney bean, press her in there, lightly cover her up. I'm gonna add a little more coffee grounds to it. I'm gonna add a little bit more to the edge here. I don't want to cover up the succulent. I just want to cover up that root. So just a little bit more at the edge here. And there I have it. So now that I actually have done my little root, I'm gonna put my little succulent and my kidney beans away. And now I'm gonna actually place them in my actual garden bed. So once these actually grow, I would say keep them in a well-lit area. Once these actually grow big enough that they're starting to poke out of their little capsules, you can actually go ahead and start filling this up with actual soil and whatever coffee grinds you have, because not only are the coffee grinds really good for body scrubs and starting seedlings, you can actually use your coffee grinds as fertilizer. So you can actually use it as plant food once you take your actual seedlings out of here and actually have them grow. So there you have it. You have your rapid prototype of what an actual garden is. Now, I wouldn't recommend doing more than 4 seedlings, because once these grow, you're gonna actually have it spaced out. So just like me using this as a template, this is the actual size you want to design for, which is how we cordon off our 1, 2, 3, 4 spaces based on it growing to this size. Now, you may notice when it grows larger and larger, you may need to add more of a plastic lining because you're going to be watering directly in. So when these actually grow, you may have to add a plastic lining up these sides. So keep your recyclables in order to make sure you always have that plastic lining. And so that is it. This is our garden bed prototype. So raise your hand if you thought this project was fun. And if you have any comments or feedback on this project, let me know in the Q&A part. But I hope this project was amazing, or at least it was a great way of going through Tinkercad and figuring out how you can take stuff off your computer and then replicate it and making it real in your actual home. I'm gonna actually post the actual progress of my seedlings so you guys can go, whether or not I have the green thumb or not, on our actual social media channels. So let me just switch gears quickly, and then I'll be able to answer any additional questions you all have before we sign off for today. Ta-da, ta-da, ta-da. Ooh. I am getting older. It is harder to get from place to place, it seems. Give me one sec, guys. I am not moving as fast as I thought I was going to move.
Hold on. Okay, so welcome back, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed that project. Someone said the project was fiddly. What does fiddly mean? Like you got to play with your hands a lot? I know, I don't know the young people's lingo, and I'm sorry, but I actually love this project. So this is one of like the first times we've done in the past seminar or the actual webinar series of Tinker Together that we've actually shown beyond like a food project, an actual way engineers and makers go from using Tinkercad or computer-aided design software to making something in real life based on real life measurements. Before we were doing like the cafe art stencils like we did last week, that was based on just the actual diameter of your cup. You didn't have to know more measurements than that. This here was way more complicated because we were basing it off of real life plant sizes, real life building materials, and making a scaled down version of even the full version. Turning your Tinkercad model into the full version of that Tinkercad model is already difficult enough, especially when you're dealing with different building materials, different types of materials to get it together, etc. Not only did you do that, but you also made a scaled down version with me. So I'm gonna let you all know you should go ahead and give yourself a pat on the back because we did a lot today. And I hope today's session actually made up for the hiccup of yesterday. I'm still not jinxing myself because knock on wood. But I like to stay back because I actually was surprised how fast we got through the project. So if you have any questions or answers for me, I'm gonna be held back and I'm gonna be staying here. Oh, someone asked, what are we doing tomorrow? So like I said, I'm gonna post the actual progress of this garden bed project on our social media. So if you'd like to see, like I said before, whether or not I have a green thumb, go ahead and check out our social media. If you actually created your garden bed project, like always, I would actually like to see. I know a couple of you have asked me if I've seen your actual Tinker Together projects. If I haven't liked or retweeted it based on the social media platform, then I haven't seen it. So what I'm gonna ask you to do in the Q&A part, because that's private, could you go ahead and send me your parents' social media handles so I can know what to look for? So I can actually go and see if I missed it, if there was like a misspelling of the handle or the actual tag, and I can go ahead and look at what you created. But go ahead and with parents' permission, share what you actually created. And I don't care if it's just a Tinkercad model. I just want to see what you actually built. So share your CAD model. And if you don't know how to do that, you go over to the Send To button in the upper right-hand corner, download the snapshot and upload it to your social media platform of your choosing. I also want to see if you actually attempted to turn your garden bed into something in real life. Or who knows, maybe you decorated it. This is my version of the garden bed. I'm just showing you how I built it. Feel free to put some paint on it, add some gems, add some sparkle, add whatever you want to add to it to bring it to reality. So go ahead, I'm gonna show progress on our social media platforms, but if you want to share your actual project, don't forget to tag us and then use the actual hashtag Tinker Together in order for us to actually find your project. Let me see if there's any other questions that people are asking. Okay, so some of you are sending me your parents' actual social handles. So I'm gonna go ahead, I got my phone, and actually going on to see if we missed any projects. In the meanwhile, someone asked, what happens if I don't have kidney beans, black beans, succulent plants, what have you? If you don't have an aloe vera plant, if you don't have any beans in your house, if you don't have any plants per se, I would actually say you have seeds, you just don't know it. So if you have apples, if you have, well, apples may be a little more difficult to grow, but an easy one would be like oranges, if you have those, anything that has a seed, even broccoli. You can actually plant broccoli, like the head of broccoli, you could take a little bit and put inside the actual seedlings made of the coffee grounds and actually grow broccoli sprouts. So I would say look in your pantry, you have something. Even if you may not personally know it's a seed, a lot of things that we eat are based on seeds. So I would just say, Google is your friend here, double check. Let's see. Oh, got you. Okay, okay. So I noticed Instagram is giving issues with the hashtag. Okay. Oh. Okay, this makes way more sense. So we already had one person share with me their parent social media handle, and I'm already seeing what happened. That makes way more sense. Okay, so if you've been having that issue, go ahead and just let me know so we can remedy that situation. But I have to say, I'm just like, because I'm the person who's just been so excited for spring, I'm just really, really happy with this project. So, oh, wait, hold on. I already missed the question. Okay. So what happens if your parents don't drink coffee? That's a good question. So if you don't have coffee grounds, don't worry. If your parents drink tea, you can actually use the tea leaves actually as a starting soil or something to actually help fertilize your seedlings. So if your parents don't mind you using their old tea bags, you can actually rip those open, or you can even leave them in the actual egg carton crates and actually use it to nurture the actual bead. What you want to do with coffee grounds or tea is you want it to have low acidity, which is what you'll get from actually coffee grounds and tea leaves. In addition to that, you also want them to be able to hold moisture, which coffee and tea do very well. So if you don't have coffee grounds, feel free to use used tea bags. If you don't have either, I've seen people have success by basically using a little bit of coffee or flour and getting rocks and some leaves just to make a hold for them to actually be able to suck the nutrients from what actually exists and hold water. Oh, okay, speaking of water, there's another question. How often do I need to water it? So my thing is, I always just do the finger test. I test the actual soil. If it's still wet and damp, then you're okay. That should mean you don't need to water it that day. But if it's starting to look dry, like the Sahara Desert dry, like you start seeing those little white crisp on the top, then go ahead and add like a drop. Not pouring water, but like the seedlings are small, like they're literally this big, right? I like to take my finger. I don't know if you guys have seen Jurassic Park, but I like to take my finger and like a drop running down my finger, I'll add maybe 10 or 12 of those if I don't have like a droplet to make more precise watering of my seedling. One of the things I suffered with when I was younger, and that's why I never had a green thumb, let's say, is that I always used to drown my plants. And that's because I did not know how much water my plants actually needed. And so that's something that we're going to actually build tomorrow. Hint, hint, and our Tinkercad Tinker Together session, we're going to explore how we can actually monitor how we water our seedlings, as well as what kind of circuit we can create in order to help monitor our seedlings. So we were supposed to dive into circuits earlier this week, but we're going to do a big circuits day tomorrow, along with a build of another CAD model to help us water our plants tomorrow as well. So that's the big hint for you all in regards to what is happening tomorrow. Any other questions? Am I going to go outside today? I mean, it's teasing me. I mean, earlier today, it was still cold and wet like it was all last week. I'm starting to see the sun come out, so I'm a little bit tempted. As long as my neighbor's cat isn't outside, I should be okay. So I may go for a quick walk for lunch or this afternoon in order to go like, hey, there's still sunlight out there and we can still enjoy the outdoors. Okay, I think everyone else is just saying this was awesome. You enjoyed it. I still need to know, what is fiddly? What does that mean? Okay, that's a vocab word I need to look up. Well, I actually think we can end like a minute or two early if you guys don't have any other questions for me. Either you are so mesmerized by your actual project, or you're like, no, it's time for lunch. I'm sorry, Miss Nisha, you're cool and all that, but time for me to head to lunch. So without more being said, I guess we can say bye, guys. I'll see you tomorrow bright and early, whether it's 11 a.m. East Coast time or 8 a.m. West Coast time. And I really hope that you guys actually been enjoying these Tinker Together webinars. Oh, someone was like, you forgot to say your name. If you've joined us, if you've been here for the entire 2 hours, my name is Nisha McCrae. I'm your actual host of these Autodesk, Tinkercad, and Tinker Together webinars. This is a collaboration between my organization, Mbadika, and Tinkercad, in order to make sure that while we're staying home, we're tinkering together. If you stayed here that long and you're just asking, that I hope is testimonial that this was fun today, and I can't wait to see you all tomorrow. So until next time, oh, I finally got what fiddly means. Fiddly means it's kind of confusing with your fingers. Got it, that makes sense. Okay, I totally understand that. You probably saw my hands doing some crisscross magic while I was trying to do this, but hopefully it was a fun exercise with your fingers. Oh, no, okay, totally understand. Okay, it's not a criticism, it's a lot of things for your fingers. Well, I would like to say these Tinker Together sessions is gonna be confusing and stretching your mental and physical capacity, but hopefully not in a way that you're like, I'm never gonna tinker again because of Miss Nisha. Hopefully it's not that. So I don't take it as a criticism. Trust me, I've been teaching for 10 years. When it's a criticism, is not written as nicely as that question. So, ha ha ha. But we're finishing right on the dot, so I'm gonna let you guys go. If it's sunny and warm where you are, take advantage of it for me and go outside and enjoy it. But until next time, don't forget to build, make, learn, and let's continue to tinker together. See you guys. Bye. I still ain't pressed the button yet. Now I'm pressing it.